Hi, my name is Eric Arnold, and I'm with the Wildlife Control Training Group. Today, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and make a standard attic vent cover. Alright, before we get started, we're going to need a couple things. First thing that we're going to need is a really good pair of wire cutters. Okay, also what you're going to need is you're going to need a 24-inch by 24-inch piece of wire. Now this is half-inch by half-inch PVC coated 16 gauge wire. This is really what I prefer to use. The 16 gauge protects against all the animals that could come through that attic vent. 19 gauge is about the thinnest wire that you want to use so that raccoons can't rip that apart. That will work just like it can be stainless steel, it can be galvanized. I just prefer the PVC. Okay, now we're also going to need something that's going to fasten all of our bends together. So you got really two options for this. The first option are J-clips. If you're not familiar with J-clips, this is what they look like. They're readily available at a tractor supply company. They do require a special tool to fasten, so you would need that as well. I don't like them on my attic vent covers. The biggest reason being is that aluminum is going to be exposed to the elements, and it's going to contrast greatly with my PVC coating here. Instead, I prefer to use this tool. This is the Stanley Ringer. This gives me a very tight seal, and I'm able to go ahead and make it where no animal is able to rip into this once I'm done. These are available commercially. You're not going to be able to go to a standard store and buy it. You're going to have to find these online. So let's go ahead and make the necessary cuts on this so I can show you how to bend it and fasten it together so it can be installed. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now and cut this into the shape that we need. We're going to make kind of like a Red Cross style with it. The reason for that is that most attic vents, they're about 11.5 inches wide and about 4.5 inches high. So we've got too much material here. Plus, in order to make the necessary bends, we have to remove some of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off 6 inches from each corner. Now, because this is ½ inch, I can just count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to make sure that I'm cutting on the inside part of my 6 inches. So I'm going to cut 2, 3, 4, 5, 'Kay, what I do is I bend this up once I've got that so I know where I'm at. Then I can, again, count out my 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cut on the inside portion of it. And that takes care of one corner. Now let's go ahead and do the 4 other corners. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count out 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to make sure I count on the cut, rather, on the inside. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to count to make sure I didn't mess up because I don't want to cut too far. So there's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch. So I need to go right to there. Bend that up. Count for my 6 to make sure again. The reason I keep counting is because you cannot put material back. You can always take it away, but you can't put it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you mess this up, this will mess up on your bend. Okay, there's our second piece out. Let me go ahead and get these other two done, and then we'll move over on how to bend it. Okay, what I'm going to use for this is I'm going to use my 3-foot brake. Now I got this at TSC. They sell them, at times I wish I had a 4-foot brake, but this is a metal brake. This is not an aluminum brake, so do not be making these if you have an aluminum brake that you're using for bending trim coil or gutter stock. Okay, if you put your wire on that, you're going to ruin it. So you need to have either an actual cage brake, which they do make, or you can use something like this. This was not that expensive. It was around $200 at TSC. So let me go ahead and get my piece. I'll show you the piece that we've got cut out so you can see that shape. Then we'll get to bending it. Okay, here's the piece that we've got cut out. This is why I said it's going to resemble a Red Cross cross. Notice that on our lines we're going across on all of them. All of our lines are matching up. That means that we didn't make a mistake somewhere when we did all of our cutting. So to do this, what you're going to do, and it really doesn't matter for this if you have it up or down, just remember you're going to be bending up, so I've got it flipped the way I want. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up this last wire with my jaw. Now it doesn't matter how you put this in. For your vent covers, for your traps and stuff it does, but for your vent covers it doesn't. So once you have that locked in place, go ahead and you can pull it up. And you can see right here that I just did a 90-degree bend with it. Well, we're going to have to change that a little bit in order to put our flanges on so we can fasten it down. So really, you can go this way, which is more of about a 60-degree bend. I like going up to the 91st because it's almost like it puts memory into the wire. But the way I do this is I start with the 1, slide it out. Now at this point you can either flip it over and do your flanges, or I prefer just to go ahead and rotate it through. All I did is I used this as a stop for me this time to make it a little bit faster. Get it lined up where you want, pull up on it, and notice that this is going to stop me now on how far up I can go with that. If I would have done both sides, I could have gone and done that one higher, but again, it's not necessary. Okay, now what we've got is we have our first shape. But if I continued this and fastened it down, how would I attach it to the roof? So what we need to do now are make our flanges. And that's why we have 6 inches here, because we're going to take 1 inch from each of these and bend it to make a fastening lip. So all you do is you put it back in, measure off. Here's 1/2 inch, here's 1 inch, so I know that that's the wire that I want. Once I have that wire lined up, I can line it up all the way through. And then I can go ahead, I can put in my 90-degree bend. Flip it over and do this side now, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. I normally work off of this side. Bend it up. And that's the other nice thing. When you're working with really anything below 12 gauge, there's still enough flexibility in this that you can bend some by hand if necessary. Okay, we've got everything all bent now. All we have to do is finish putting it together. Okay, so here is our vent cover. We've got it all bent, ready to fasten it. What I'm kind of doing right now is a dry fit. I'm bending it by hand, making sure that these corners match up okay. We don't have a straightener. We're not a professional shop doing this. So at times you might have to massage the wire a little bit to make sure it's going to fit. Once you've got that done, I take my Stanley ringers and I come through and I push down on that very top piece to start with. Then I'll come to the bottom piece and I'll put a ring in there. I'm going to go through on all my sides and do that. And if you miss a ring like I just did, just go ahead and hit it up again. Now, one of the things with these Stanley ringers that can be a bit of a pain at times is you don't have a lot of tension feeding this in, so you might have to go ahead and put another row of fasteners on here in order to get it to work for you. All I did there is I'm having a problem with this. I can't get that off, so I'll need to take some needle nose pliers to it, pull those off and re-ring it. But that has my form started, and then about every inch I'll go through and I'll put rings in it. And this is again why I really like the Stanley ringer, because this pulls this a lot tighter than the J-clips did. Now I could go every half inch if I really wanted to. In my experience, it's not necessary to do that, but if you're more comfortable doing that, then that's what you need to do. We've got it all put together. Bend down on it a little bit. You can see we have our 1-inch fastening flanges to it, and that's all there is to making an attic roof vent cover.